I'm always amazed by people when they can offer such kindness and generosity, such openness, given the situation that's happening around them. And Jordan is and was one of those places for me. And, as we were traveling, we met a lot of different people and we had an amazing guide, right? And I just was so surprised that how open they would be and would say things like, you can ask me anything. Nothing offends me in that way. I want to teach you. I want you to better understand. I want to offer you the perspective, which I definitely tested and used that opportunity to ask a lot of different questions. It's so beautiful and was so thankful for that opportunity.
Hey, it's Julia, and this is Going Places, a show about fascinating places near and far, and the people who make them better. Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Julia Denisiuk. Today, we're speaking with Vanessa Abbe, a travel advisor and avid traveler who joined me on my last group trip to Jordan. In this conversation, I wanted to hear her take on what it's like traveling in the country for someone who's never been before. In our talk, Vanessa will share some of her hesitations about coming to Jordan at this time and what made her say yes. We'll talk about the people and the places that most impacted her on the trip, how her experience in Jordan has helped her get a better understanding of the region, and what lessons from traveling there she's implementing at home. And just a reminder that I'm running a group trip to Jordan next June. On this trip, you'll get to see this country from the north to the south and do some incredible things like visit Petra in the most unusual way and spend time with the Bedouins of Wadi Rum desert. I've been to Jordan over 20 times and nothing makes me happier than sharing my expertise, passion, love, and enthusiasm for it with others. The 10-day trip runs from June 5th to 14th, 2026, and if you book your spot by January 5th, 2026, you'll be able to get it on the early bird pricing. Get all the information about this June trip, including the itinerary, what we will do, and the price at goingplacesmedia.com/Jordan, or check out the link in the show notes. All right, now let's get into this conversation with Vanessa.
I think that Wadi Rum was super special. It's also a place that, for me, it has a special energy. There's just something magical about those sunsets and the sunrises and the calmness that exists there, and just really appreciating the nature and the people that live there day in and day out. Hi, Vanessa.
Oh, lovely to see you. It's so good to see you too. What is that background that you have there? Where are you?
I'm sitting at my kitchen table in my house, and that background is, I have kind of like a gallery wall behind me, and it's pictures and artwork from a lot of different places that I've traveled to in my life.
Nice. Are those your photographs?
No. But some of them should be replaced with my photographs.
I remember you taking photographs on our trip, so those should be your photos for sure.
There's not one of Jordan in the back on the wall yet, so we need to work on that.
We need to work on that. Yes. Well, amazing. Thank you so much for joining today. It's always lovely to see you, and it's always lovely for me to talk about Jordan specifically with anyone who listens, to be honest. And welcome to our lovely audience as well. It's so good to see you guys. So why we're gathering here today is to talk about Jordan, talk about the trip that I just had in Jordan with Vanessa and five other amazing people in the fall of last year, and also talk through some of the concerns and some thoughts maybe that people have about traveling to Jordan this year. And hi, Sequoia. I see you. Sequoia says hello in the comments. Amazing. Yeah, and Vanessa was one of the travelers that joined us on this trip last year, so I wanted to bring her on to talk about this. So, first of all, I wanted to ask you, what were some of the things that were going through your minds when you saw that I'm traveling to Jordan in the fall of last year? And how did you think about that?
Oh, so good question. Not great English, Vanessa, but whatever. When I saw the information or the message that you were going to Jordan, for me, as I mentioned, I travel a lot. So my heart said, oh my gosh, I want to go on that trip. I want to meet Yulia, and I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but that's what I want to do. And then the rational part of my brain kicked in, and I thought, oh, I probably should do some research about Jordan. It's in the Middle East. There's a lot going on right now. I'm going to get asked questions. And as a human who travels a lot, rationally, I know that it's probably fine to go to Jordan. People live there and do their lives every single day. So what's the problem here? But I know for me, sometimes when I travel, I've been to places that are a little bit dangerous. And so I always feel like I need to convince or make my friends and family comfortable about where I'm traveling to. So I remember when I saw that, the first thing I did is I went to travel.state.gov to look at I don't know the exact thing it's called, but the security threat levels. Right. And to my surprise, which I was pleasantly surprised, the threat level was the same as Italy, which, Western Europe go to often, and Brazil, right, which can be a dangerous place if you're not mindful. And I'm like, oh, in my head, I was like, I have no more fears. We're going to be fine. Like, I've been to places with much higher threat levels. And then they remember messaging you, Yulia, because you offered to chat. And so I wanted to know who you were as a person and see if I felt comfortable going, which that was easy. Absolutely, yes. And I remember asking you about how you explain to family and friends of why you feel safe in Jordan. And when we were talking, you had asked me if I'd been to other places in the Middle East, which I had. And one of those places was Oman. And you said, oh, well, think about it like Oman. Oman is pretty neutral. It's a safe place, a good introductory place to go to the Middle East. Jordan is very similar. And once you shed light on that, I was like, oh yeah, I can totally get behind this, and I'll be able to explain to people why I'm doing this and why I feel comfortable. So I hope, or I think, that answers the initial question that you asked me. And maybe an and is, once I actually got to Jordan and started to be there and experience it, I was like, this place is very safe. And I learned a lot from a historical perspective of what influences that safety, right? From a geographical point of view. And hopefully I'm not misrepresenting anything, but this is how I understood it. It's not in Jordan's best interest to be a place filled with war, right? They depend on other countries for natural resources. When the country was created, it was created to be a buffer in that region. So that just, I don't know, amplified my understanding and feeling of safeness when I was there.
And I do remember saying that Jordan is a good sort of first place to go to in the Middle East because it really gives you such a good understanding of the region, perspective on the region, and it's an amazing place to start your familiarization with this region. For that reason, I always say that Jordan, if you've never been to the Middle East, if you don't know that much about Arab culture, then Jordan is a great place to start.
I think what's interesting too about that, when I compare it to other places that I had been, I feel like the culture is more accessible in a way to any traveler that comes there, where my experience in the Gulf was a little bit different, right? Just because of how that culture works, but it's there and accessible, and people want to share their culture and experiences, and they're so open to it.
So open, so welcoming, and just, immediately it's very real. It's not sort of tourist tourism slash hospitality kind of situation. It's literally people you meet everywhere, just like, everybody's so kind and welcoming. And particularly as Americans traveling there, I don't know how you felt about it, but for me, that always sort of breaks my heart, maybe not the right word, but I'm always like, wow, like how we're treated here.
I always find that I'm cognizant of that when I travel other places in the world because I understand, right, that people have very differing views on Americans. I'm always amazed by people when they can offer such kindness and generosity, such openness, given the situation that's happening around them. And Jordan is and was one of those places for me. And, as we were traveling, we met a lot of different people and we had an amazing guide, right? And I just was so surprised that how open they would be and would say things like, you can ask me anything. Nothing offends me in that way. I want to teach you. I want you to better understand. I want to offer you the perspective, which I definitely tested and used that opportunity to ask a lot of different questions. It's so beautiful and was so thankful for that opportunity.
Yeah. Shout out to our friend Ahmad Atwa, who was our guide on this trip. And you picked out something very important. I think, Vanessa, you mentioned something really important. That is that opportunity to ask questions from somebody who lives in that region is, to me at least, this is one of the most important and impactful things that we can do when we travel, especially traveling to the Middle East, and have the space of days to do that, right? It's not just one encounter. It's literally, we're traveling together for 10 days. So there is a lot of space to go to all kinds of different spaces and areas of questioning and understanding and that exchange, which I think is so important, right?
And being honest, right? Like that's part of the reason I chose your trip because that's really important to me when I travel. I want to be able to experience, as much as I can as a tourist, right? But experience the reality of the people that live there. I'm not interested in being. I like to do the touristy things, right? I want to see some of those important sites, but I also want to experience the people, the culture, what they have to offer, and that was so alive and so real during our trip, and that's what makes it special, at least for me.
Yeah. I'm glad. I feel like I always attract very like-minded people because that's how I love to travel as well. That's what's important to me, is to see how people live and to understand their reality a little bit better, right? So I'm so glad that sort of came through for you. And, that's what first attracted you. And sounds like that's what you also experienced on the trip.
Exactly. And I think that as I travel through the globe, right, I meet a lot of people, but somehow I stay connected to those people, right? And I might not see them for a long time, but you can exchange a message and you still get a response or some advice or some input or their views. And that's what I love, right? Like I can always tap on those people who I meet along the way and stay connected.
Yeah. And just to reiterate for everyone, Jordan is absolutely safe. It has been this whole time since October 7th, and it continues to be. But that is why the situation is so sad, particularly in Jordan. I'm speaking about Jordan right now because according to some estimates, I've seen different estimates, but some estimates say that up to 80 to 90% of all arrivals to the country has been canceled in the last year and a half.
And Yulia, it's an interesting thing that you're sharing too, because I remember you sharing different podcasts and interviews and people you've met on your journey, and I watched all of them. But one hit me particularly hard, and I don't remember the woman's name. I know she's a dear friend of yours, but
she's name is Yasar. Yes, Yasar. Shout out to Yasar.
The woman who was, helping us orchestrate our experiences and helping with those logistics. And I just remember her talking about how badly the tourism industry has been decimated. And And I just like after hearing that was it. I was going. It didn't matter what I needed to do, but it was a call a little bit to it was a way for me to help people that are struggling, but also it gave me the opportunity to see Jordan in a way that I wouldn't have gotten to see it if Jordan were at full peak tourism. And so I think that also contributed to the experience because we really got to spend time with people and be in places without hordes of tourists. So, I mean, if you're considering going to Jordan, now is the time. Like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, sadly, that's the case. I mean, because for them, for the country, it's not good that there is no people there. Not at all. But yeah, and that's why like the disconnect of it always, honestly, just boggles my mind. The disconnect of what people perceive the situation to be and what the situation actually is. But going back to that number, 80 to 90% of tourism arrival is canceled in the last year. Imagine that for somebody who's who works in tourism. What are they doing? Most of the people who I know a lot of people by now in the tourism industry in Jordan, and they're all telling me the same thing. Yulia, we're barely hanging on. We're barely hanging on. And so it's just so sad because literally nothing is happening in Jordan. It's absolutely safe. Now, I do want to say that proximity to Palestine is also very hard, sort of a heartbreaking thing, because in some cases we can be 8 miles to the border, 8 miles. In the Dead Sea, when we're staying at the Dead Sea, we're literally across the water to the West Bank. In Amman, we're about 60 miles from Jerusalem. It's such a strange sort of feeling where you're in this land, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, we're having a good time, we're having amazing meals, we're meeting all these people, we're learning their stories, and so close to us this is happening, right? But at the same time, that's why it's so strange, because there's absolutely nothing happening in Jordan. But it's empty right now because there is people don't understand this situation that well, I think. So,
and I think that that's the duality of anything, right? And I actually appreciated that in a lot of ways, because it causes you to reflect, and it causes you to really think about your choices and how they can or cannot have an impact, right? And at least for me personally, of course I have my perspectives, but I learned a lot, right? I learned new news sources, new perspectives, right? I think even though you have the heaviness on one hand and the bright sun and chirping birds on the other hand, it's an opportunity to learn and reflect.
Yeah, for sure. So, who were some of the people that you met on our trip that that really stayed with you? The experience of meeting them. You mentioned Ahmad, our guide.
Yeah, Ahmad, of course, stays with me still, even. Well, probably not the typical answer for me. I was so appreciative of is, as you mentioned, I am a photographer. I'm still, of course, learning. And Ahmad is an amazing photographer, and he took the time to teach me new things that I didn't learn, and I could actually practice while I was there. And it gave me so much excitement and joy, but also his openness and sharing his perspectives. Okay, hopefully I don't mix names up, but Rakan, right?
Rakan, yes.
He has his sustainable farm. I'm familiar with sustainable farming practices, but it's always fun for me to watch others learn about that, because that's not people's reality. And then having an opportunity to visit his restaurant and taste the food, right? It has a different taste when you grow things in a sustainable, ecological way, right? So that was fun for me. Of course, the team at Wadi Rum, so at Rum Planet. I mean, how could they not be mentioned? They gave us an unforgettable experience, which they give to all their guests. And I think one thing for us, because we were traveling with you, being invited into someone's home and having a lunch of makuba in a way that, we wouldn't otherwise get to have, that was really special and really, we're so lucky to have that experience. And I think about all the people that we met in Amman through the art galleries we visited, the different restaurants that were created right to support Palestinian refugees, and just I can't name them all by name because I don't know them personally, but hearing their stories and really seeing artwork in a different way was just I love that, and I love doing that here in the US and when I travel other places, but I don't think I personally don't get a lot of exposure to that in the US. And so it was just it heartbreaking, but also I learned so much from that. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of different people and things. You know, they were all delightful. And each of our guides who took us on little hiking treks and taught us different things about the landscapes and the plants. Even those that didn't speak English, right? We still shared those special moments. So lots of sage tea.
Oh,
And
Maramia, Shai,
yeah,
Maramia.
yeah. The other thing that always amazes me while I was in Jordan, everyone has such like hidden artistic talents that they bring alive, right, in different ways. And I just was like, wow, I don't have any of these talents. This is awesome. So that was really
What were some
lovely.
of those hidden artistic talents?
I just remember one of our guides, we were taking a group photo and he built that special little it was to frame our group photo essentially. And he took the photo behind the little rock formation that he made and it just framed it so beautifully. Like, do you ever think to do those things? It was such a lovely photo once we were done, right? And a special surprise. Or like the day that we were on a long drive and we stopped in a a roadside coffee shop. And, you know, the man took the time to grind the coffee and it's a simple act. But the thing is he had such a rhythm and it was so almost musical, right? So just little things like that, you know, add to the adventure.
Yeah. And remember the story behind why they do it like that, right? There is a particular, like you said, rhythm to grinding the coffee the Bedouin way, and they do it this way because in the times before the internet and before the phone, that was the sign that hey, this person is making coffee. Yeah, come and have some coffee. So that was one of the signs. I want to comment on something that you said, you know, about seeing some of the people on our trip. I take great pains to make sure that through this trip, we support the Palestinian community in Jordan. I don't know if you guys know this, but a third of Jordan's population is actually Palestinian. And a lot of those families came during the Nakba, the 1948 mass expulsion of Palestinians from their own land. And a lot of them ended up in Jordan. There are big refugee camps in Jordan that also still haven't, you know, there's they're still living there as refugees, you know, decades and decades later. But also there is other families who are living quote unquote more normal lives in Amman and other areas, mostly in the north of the country. And so on our trip, we take great lengths to support these Palestinian, Jordanian people. So, for example, Yasar Malhas, who we mentioned earlier, this is our tour operator in the country. This is the company that actually fulfills the trip, and they are a Palestinian Jordanian family that operate that business. And that Ahmad, our guide, is also a Palestinian, and he told us a lot of stories about his life, about his family, and I think for people in the States who probably have not had a chance to meet a Palestinian person before, this is important. And I think you've even shared with me that you gained some understanding and you learned new things on this trip.
And it's not that I didn't have exposure, but I didn't, it's like next level exposure, if you will. And I just learned a lot. And I think that for me personally, I take those stories and it really makes me think, right? I'm like, oh, maybe I should be questioning X, Y, and Z a little bit more. Maybe I should dig in a little more and understand that. And I don't know, the artwork and the music, and it's different. And I just really appreciated that. And, um, you know, you were mentioning, Ilya, that you take a lot of time to make sure that we're supporting the Palestinian community. You can't see it because of how the screen cuts me, but we went to, I'll probably botch some of this, but we went to a coffee shop. And at that coffee shop, they spend a lot of time in the community working with Palestinian children to help further their artistic abilities, right? And in that shop, there's a lot of gifts that Palestinian women make. And one of the things I purchased was a t-shirt where they do the embroidery work. And it's absolutely beautiful and of such a high quality that I, one, couldn't say no. And two, it just, while not a lot, every little bit counts, right? And so it just felt really special. And every time I put that shirt on, it touches the heart, right? And it makes you remember to not forget about that which is important.
Yeah, that is so well said and so beautifully said, Vanessa. And the coffee shop that you mentioned is called Al Manara. It's a 2-story or 3-story center in one of my favorite neighborhoods in Amman called Waibde. And I make sure that we stop there when we're in Amman. And the Orenda tribe is the shop that we stop by, where owner Zaid is working on this project of supporting children and women in the refugee camps. And they do a lot of different projects. They like beautify the camps, they paint, they do art therapy workshop. They do a lot of incredible things. So yeah, I'm happy to support them as well. And I think one other thing that you pointed out, coming to a home of our friends in Wadi Rum and having lunch with them, it always it makes me so happy to share these experiences with people that travel with me, because that's always been my experience when I've been to, I've been to Jordan over 20 times now, and it's like it's always that same experience for me where I'm just so welcomed. And like I feel like people, when they see your heart, they react. It's like I don't know, maybe this doesn't make sense.
Mirror.
It's like a heart to heart kind of energy exchange,
People pick up on the energy, and that energy is mirrored back, right? I mean, and I've been to other places in the world where I've eaten at other people's homes, and it's always so magical, right? It's an opportunity that you don't have a lot. And I think about, I've worked a lot internationally, and I've been really fortunate to have people open their homes to me. And when you're thousands of miles away from home, without your friends, without your family, it's really nice to go have a home cooked meal. And I think, as someone who was American and worked with a lot of international people, and when they come to the US, it feels cold for them. And I think what I have learned when you just open the home, because I do that a lot more than I ever used to. I don't care, come over, have a meal. But it's an act of showing love, right? And no one has to open their home, right? So it's a really special thing, and truly an act of love to greet someone that you don't know, make a meal for them, and bring them into your sacred space.
Yeah. And Kusai, who was our friend in Wadi Rum, he took us to his mom's home. She was up since like 6 a.m. preparing a meal, this upside down makluba dish, which is this meal of rice and meat, and it's upside down with vegetables on the bottom that end up on the top. And yeah, she was like,
she worked hard.
She worked so hard, because we came for lunch, and she was up since early in the morning making that dish. It's love, it's effort, it's all of those things, and it's incredible.
And she didn't have to do that for us, right? She chose to do that. So
that kind of, honestly, this is an interesting conversation, because hospitality culture is so ingrained in Jordan, and not just in Jordan, in the Middle East, right? So yes, she didn't have to do it, but also there was no question that would be done in a way, because it's like, it's not like, oh, I have to do it. It's more like, yeah, we have to do this.
Also true. But she could have chosen a different meal for us. She could have chosen, any easy others.
Your effort, lower effort. Yeah, definitely. So we talked a little bit about the people that's really made their impact on you. I want to talk now about the places themselves. What are some of the places that we traveled through that stayed with you?
Well, I don't want to sound so cliche, but Petra at night, I've been wanting to do that my entire life, right? For me, there's something very, very magical in the air. I can't describe it effectively, but that is something I just really wanted to experience. I think that Wadi Rum was super special. It's also a place that for me it has a special energy. Again, don't know how to describe it, but there's just something magical about those sunsets and the sunrises and the calmness that exists there, and just really appreciating the nature and the people that live there day in and day out. So that was, of course, special. The other thing that I remember very vividly for some reason is we went to the Citadel in Amman in the evening, and I don't know, there's just, it's like a juxtaposition of a lot of different things. This Roman place, I don't know what words to use to describe it. The twinkling lights of Amman. You see the more traditional neighborhoods, the business districts, and just that like melting of all of those things together was just, I always find that so beautiful and fascinating. Honestly, every place we visited was pretty amazing, but those little moments stick out. I mean, just again, we went to the Dead Sea, right? But I think for me, the thing that was most memorable was the day that, where we just had free time and I took a nap and then we went to the Dead Sea, and my God, it felt so good to float there and the mud making your skin so soft, right? Like it just was an experience that I'm not going to forget in this lifetime. And I talked about the sustainable farm, right? Like that's my jam. I like that kind of stuff. So it was just nice to see it someplace else and the passion that exists there. You mentioned the artwork, of course, in Amman. I loved going to the galleries. I will say that there was one exhibit that we visited. Again, one of those moments where it just causes you to stop and reflect. But it was the one where I don't know how they got the artwork, but it was from Palestinians who were living in Gaza during this war, this genocide, right? And I think what touched me so much is people's resolve to continue to make art even in the most dire of situations. And the one image, there's two images that I remember. One was the one where the man did the artwork on, it was the packaging for stomach medicine. And I just like, wow, we're doing this on those packages, right? And then there was a ink drawing of a mother with her child as the planes are like that. It hit me so hard. So I think those kind of places were really important, while hard, very important, because it shows that duality that we spoke about before.
Yeah, there's something I want to say about that, but first I want to read the comment from Elka. So good, you're showing people Jordan is a safe and truly mesmerizing place. Yes, thank you so much, Elka. Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, right? And I posted this on stories I think yesterday. I get messages all the time from people in the tourism industry in Jordan. When they hear that I'm coming with a group, they're like, "Hey, hit me up. I've been out of work for a year, you know, and like, of course, my one group cannot fix the whole situation, but it's very sad because literally there's in a place where there is nothing happening, there is no military or any kind of actions, and and there is no tourism.
I was just going to say, one of the many hats that I wear is, right, I'm a travel advisor. And one thing I have done since I have gotten home, to your point, is like, it's sharing the story, helping people understand it's safe, helping people understand the beauty that's there and the history that is there. I wouldn't have been able to do that as effectively before. I can do that better now that I've been there and seen that and done that.
Yeah. That's an excellent point, Vanessa.
It's my form of advocacy, if you will. Like I can advocate and help people better understand.
I love that. And it makes me so happy to hear that, because ultimately the goal with my trips is that, right? It's help more people understand the region better, take stock of a lot of the stereotyping that happens
Absolutely.
with Arab culture and Arab people, and understand the role our government and our country plays and has played for decades in the mess in the Middle East. Actually, I don't even want to say the mess in the Middle East, because that's actually
Perpetuating the narrative.
perpetuating the narrative, right? The mess in the Middle East, that's created by who? The question is, right? Who is creating all this mess? So that's my ultimate goal, because it's hard to get that kind of level of understanding through reading things. You can read things, of course, and reading things is also important. But I think once you go by yourself and see for yourself, that's the most impactful way to do it. I also want to say that it's so, what you just said about the places that spoke to you the most, again, for me, is a testament to how I keep attracting like-minded people, because these are the places that speak to me so much. And honestly, the way I design these trips is I take people to places that speak to me, you know? That's where we go. If I go somewhere that I don't feel that sort of energetic connection, we don't go there, you know? But Wadi Rum is, you know, and you guys know this already. Everybody who knows me probably knows this by now. I call it a place of power for me, because it just so, there's such energetic, there's something there, like you said, the sun, the quietness and the stillness, and of course our amazing hosts at Rum Planet Camp are just the best people to experience this with. And then the Citadel is exactly for the reasons you described. I always love being back there, because especially at the Azan time, when the call to prayer starts coming from all the surrounding hills of the city, from different mosques, and you know, it's really beautiful. And the pigeons are flying, and you know, the sky is turning red.
As I listen to you, you and I have never talked about that before, right? So I didn't know that, but it's really interesting to hear that, because that's exactly what was there for me and what I found, what called me to that place, right? Like I could feel that.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, Vanessa, I can talk to you for a long time about this trip, about Jordan and our experiences, but unfortunately, we don't have that much time to do it. But I want to close with, if you had an opportunity to talk to someone who is maybe considering coming to Jordan with us this year, but is maybe on the fence for whatever reason, what would you tell them?
I would actually say to them, why don't you reach out to me? Why don't you reach out to Yulia, and let's talk about what you're concerned about and have a discussion. I really think that understanding can help you, maybe bring you some ease or give you some perspective that just reading stuff on the internet might not get you, right? Because you're going to find a lot of information that will make you very uncomfortable with going to Jordan.
Yeah. Reach out to us, guys. If you are interested in coming to Jordan with me this time, reach out to me, reach out to Vanessa. Yeah, Vanessa is on Instagram at adventures_VKABBE. You have to change that, Vanessa, okay?
I know, it's too long. I'll work on that. It's on the low priority list.
And reach out to me. Of course, I'm on Instagram at In Search of Perfect. My DMs are open, and I would love to have you join our trip. I can't wait to be back in Jordan and to say hello to our friends in Jordan one more time.
Pass my hellos on as well.
Going Places shares stories that help us imagine a better way to live, create, and travel. We are located on the traditional unceded Anishinaabe homelands. Our theme music is Altercations by Matt Nicholson at Big Score Audio. Our editor is Luciana Boss. We are an audience-supported platform. Become a member and get our awesome perks at goingplacesmedia.com. Our founding members are Rise Travel Institute, a nonprofit with a mission to create a more just and equitable world through travel education, and Radostina Boseva, a film photographer with an editorial flair based in San Francisco. Take care and safe travels.